This is totally different type of question. A sample of I-131 as I minus ion was administered to a patient in a carrier consisting of 1 milligram of stable I minus. So 1 milligram stable I minus. After 4 days, 60% of initial activity was detected in the thyroid gland. So 1 milligram has been administered, and after 4 days, 60% has been detected in thyroid gland. What mass of stable I minus has migrated to thyroid gland? Half-life is given as 8 days. So half-life is 8 days given to us. Question is, what is the mass of the substance which has been migrated to thyroid glands? Presently, thyroid gland is exhibiting only 60% of the initial activity. So basing on this, we have to find out what is the mass that has been migrated to thyroid gland. Try to read the question once again. It should be clear to you, because once again here they are giving 1 milligram to patient. After 4 days, 60% of initial activity was found in thyroid gland. After 4 days, 60% has been found in thyroid gland. What is the mass of the stable I minus that has migrated to thyroid glands? That implies, meaning is this, whatever 1 milligram they are giving to the patient initially, everything has not gone to thyroid glands now. That's the meaning of that. Whatever they are given to patient, it has not gone to thyroid gland completely now. After 4 days, 60% initial activity has been found in thyroid glands. And he says that what mass of the stable, that is iodide ion, has been migrated to thyroid glands now. So everything has not been gone to my thyroid glands there now. Something has been gone to thyroid glands only. There you are finding out activity was 60% now. Question is, how much has been initially has been migrated to thyroid glands? That is a question asked. A different type of question now. So here, first of all, we need to get from that 40% mass, totally how much mass they have been given. After 4 days, actually how much mass must be present, that we have to find out first. What should be the ratio of the mass that has been present after 4 days? That we have to find out. What percentage must be left? From the half-life is given to us. From half-life, we can find out the lambda value. So knowing the value of lambda value and knowing the time, there's 4 days is there now. Lambda is there and 4 days is there now. So lambda and 4 days given to us, we can find out actually how much activity it should be. Because you are starting with 1 milligram of substance and we know lambda value. So try to understand, we know the lambda value and we know the time also. T is given now. From lambda and T, we should find out how much percentage should be exhibiting in the thyroid glands now. What you are expecting, you can find out now. But the expecting value will not be shown there, because everything has not been migrated to thyroid glands there now. So you're expecting some value from the time, the 4 days, and the lambda value now. So that value will not be 60% for us now. That will be more than 60%. Why more than 60%? Because everything has not migrated to thyroid glands now. If everything has been migrated to thyroid glands, maybe you are going to get more than 60% than now. You got only 60% because something has not migrated to thyroid glands there now. That is the reason we are getting less one now. So using this data, we need to find out actually how much has been migrated. So first of all, let us find out what actually we are expecting after 4 days. That will find out first what is the expectations from this we will calculate first. Then we'll see how much it is exhibiting. So from these two differences, we have to find out actually how much has been lost, how much has been sent to thyroid glands. First of all, is the point clear now? Yes? What, Rohan? Is the point clear first? Means actually what you are doing, you should know. So I'm asking that one now. Is the point clear? Nobody is replying. You are there or not? Yes? Okay, right. Yes, Bharat. Okay, it's clear now. So we are going to find out the expected percentage first. Right, good. So for that, we require the calculation like this. We are finding out the expected percentage of iodine that should be present now. So half-life is given to us, as well as we know the value of time also there now. So both the things we know. So I'm writing like this. We know the formula K is equal to 2.30 by T into log of N naught by N. Initial concentration by final concentration we have now. So log N naught by N we'll find out now. Means what percentage should be present now is equal to K into T by 2.303. K means is not given directly, given in terms of half-life there now. So 0.693 by half-life is given as 8 here now. So by 8 into time for this process is 4 days. Yeah. So KT by 2.303 then now. And this value should be simplified here. So on simplification, this value is coming out to 6.67. You are telling after antilog value or before antilog? Oh, we'll get to the 2 by 3. Okay. So 0.5. I'm getting this as, if I do with calci, I'm getting as 0.154. When I'm doing by calculator, I'm getting this as 0.15. 0.150 I'm getting. One of you check this value. Okay. So now I'll take antilog of that value there. N naught by N then now. 0.150. Yeah, okay, correct, Bharat. So 0.150 and log of 0.150. So it is coming out to be, I'm using your calculator and doing, okay. You are also just doing that way because we are supposed to give some logarithmic values there. So antilog of 0.15. So it is coming out as 1.414 now. 1.414. Okay. What fraction left means we should inverse this one now. N by N naught gives fraction left now. So 1 by 4, 1.414 then now. Means in amount reacted by amount, initial amount. This will be fraction now. Fraction left. This will be close to 0.7. Fraction left is close to 0.7. Means after 4 days, fraction left is 0.7. Means you can say 70%. So it is showing 70% now. It is showing 70% activity. So amount left is equal to 0.7 means 70% activity must be there now. But if you see the question, let us go to question once. They gave us 60% activity now. They gave activity is only 60% now. And you're expecting an activity of 70% now. It shows an activity of only 60% now. So from this, we have to calculate actually how much has been migrated to thyroid glands now. So that implies, suppose it shows 70% activity as per your expectations, it means that 100% has been migrated then now. 70% means you are taking initial should be 100 then now to get 70% now. So it will be like this, the calculation part now. I'm erasing this part here. So we got here 70%. So suppose 70%, say if it shows, if it shows 70%, if it shows 70%, then 100% of the substance, I can say now, 100% of the substance has migrated now, has migrated to thyroid glands now. But it's showing only 60% now. Showing only 60% activity now. Means how much percentage of substance has been migrated to thyroid glands then now. So 60 into, yes, Bharat, 60 into 100 by 70 are doing now. Now this value is coming out as 85% now. So 85.7% has been migrated to thyroid glands now. 85.7% of the substance injected now. They're injecting altogether 1 milligram only. So in 1 milligram, this much percentage has migrated to thyroid glands now. That implies the mass that has been gone to thyroid glands must be 0. We got how much percentage here? Once again, we got 87.5, 85.7% now. So 85.7% of 1 milligram now. So 1 into 85.7 by 100. So many milligrams now. So close to 0.85 milligrams has been migrated then now. So answer is 0.85 milligrams. That is the answer. A different type of question has been given here now altogether. Okay. This type of question we didn't solve. Then 27th we need not do. Again 28th is also a different type of question. We'll just see what should be done and we'll leave it off that question there. Then this question not required. The regular type of question only. The inversion of cane sugar studied in HCl. The following polarimeter tubes different show that. Now the show that and all those things we need not do now. Not required. Show that means actually what we do is we see that rate constant is constant there now. So leave it off the question. Then this question, the activity of 1 gram of radium found to be 0.5 curie. Calculate half-life period of radium and time required for decay of 2 grams of radium to give 0.25 grams. So half-life is given. This also, I think we need not do. So half-life and time required for decay of 2 grams of radium to 0.25 now. 2 grams to 0.25 means you can know how many half-lives you require now. We know number of half-lives required. So activity is found to be 0.5 curie. Initial activity is 0.5 curie there now. So from that initial activity of 0.5 curie, you can find out the activity A is equal to lambda into n. That formula can be used. So I'll tell you the data to be used. So lambda into n can be used here. So we know the initial activity we know. We have to convert this value into DPS now. They gave 0.5 curie, we can convert them into DPS. And 1 gram of radium is there now. This 1 gram of radium should be changed into number of atoms, because see here formula, activity A is equal to N means number of atoms into lambda value now. From 1 gram, we can find out the number of atoms there now. That is, should divide 1 by its atomic mass, given as 226 now. So 1 by 226 will give number of moles. Multiply into Avogadro's number. That gives us number of atoms there now. So N is known to us now. Once you know the value of N, and A value is anyhow given to us now. So from that you can find out lambda, and finally it goes, from there you can find out the half-life now. Once you know the half-life, you can find out 2 grams to 0.25 means it comes to 2 to 1, 2 grams to 1 gram, 1 half-life, 1 to 0.5, 1 more half-life, 0.5 to 0.25. Implies that there should be 3 half-lives there now. 3 half-lives are there. After finding out lambda, you can find out the value. The remaining 2, I think we need not do. Just ignore the questions, because they involve very huge calculations. The 29th question and then 30th question. So 30th is again show the things. So we did not do that. This very huge involves only calculations, but try to know the meaning of this word, a specific activity. Activity of 1 gram of substance is called specific activity there now. The term stands for per gram. What is the activity? That is called specific activity. They gave per gram activity as this value. They gave us half-lives there now. Half-lives are there. You can find out respect to lambda values, you can find out. You can take one of them as x grams, other as 1 minus x gram, you can take there now. And we know lambda values. From the mass, we can find out the number of moles. From moles, we can find out the number of atoms there now. And we know lambda values, you can convert into activities, add those two. Add those two. That will be the activity per gram of a substance over there now. Here, some data is also missing here. They have to give us activity per gram. That I have to see this and tell you. Yeah, some data is missing here. Activity per gram should be given there now. This is given as here is missing in the question. 6 into 10 to the power of 9 is activity given to us now, DPS. Then we can equate to that one now. Okay, so we need not do that. We'll leave it off that one now. Even last question also, I can leave it off, easy only. Show that it is coming from the above data. Calculate the Avogadro's number, not required. So we know the Avogadro's number, we need not calculate Avogadro's number. Of course, we get somewhat different value. Exactly, we may not get Avogadro's number there now. But close to Avogadro's number, you are going to get there. Fine. This you can do mathematically. I need not go for explanation for this one now. Okay, ma, we'll go to electrochemistry now. Electrochemistry. So electrochemistry, we'll say a few points first and we'll start doing the numerical parts. First one, a few things we'll discuss. I think I will write the formulas. It's better, I think, to solve the questions now. And any explanation is there, I'll explain the formula also, like that I will do. So the first and foremost formulas will be Faraday's formulas we have. So Faraday's law formula. In that first formula, Faraday's first law. So there it says W is proportional to charge. So W is equal to some Z into Q you have, where Z is called electrochemical equivalent, ECE, of a substance there now. Electrochemical equivalent we have. And we define electrochemical equivalent as mass of substance deposited per 1 coulomb of charge that is being passed. That is called value of Z. Okay. So here, that is ECE, I mean to say mass of substance. That is to say, if Q is equal to 1, no, we get W is equal to Z only. So Z is defined as the mass of substance deposited when you are passing 1 coulomb of charge through the substance there now. Now there is a relation between Z, and E we have now. We all know that Z is equal to capital E by 96,500 now. So we can replace Z by E by 96,500 there. So this capital E, this is called chemical equivalent. This is equivalent mass or else now. Equivalent mass of substance. And this is called electrochemical equivalent now. Electrochemical equivalent. So see the difference. This is a equivalent mass, is electrochemical equivalent mass now. But try to understand basically what are these two. For that we require just 1 point of difference is there. That is, suppose you are passing, let us take silver solution. If you pass 1 electron here, we get 1 silver atom to the solution now. If you pass 1 mole of electrons here, you are going to get 1 mole of silver now. That is 108 grams we get now. Like that, if you take a copper solution and pass there 2 moles of electrons here, we get there 1 mole of copper. 1 mole copper you are going to get. That is 63.5 grams. And if you pass 1 mole of electrons there, then we get half of this one. That is 31.75 grams we are going to get now. Now here, 31.75 grams. Whenever you are passing 1 mole of electrons, always we are going to get mass which is equal to 1 chemical equivalent now. In the case of silver ion solution, we are passing 1 mole of electrons now. The substance deposited is equal to 108 gram now. 108 is also equivalent mass of silver now, because atomic mass by 1. When you take copper ions here, if you are passing 1 mole of electrons here, we got 63.5 by 2. Again, we are getting there equivalent mass of substance only. So from this, we can summarize that whenever you are passing 1 mole of electrons here, always we are going to get the substance which is equal to 1 equivalent mass of the substance now. That is for 1 mole of electrons. For 1 mole of electrons, we get 1 gram equivalent of the substance now. 1 gram equivalent of substance now. And we know that 1 mole of electrons makes how much charge? It makes 96,500 only. So 96,500 coulombs of charge, we get 1 gram equivalent. Remember the relation there now. For every 96,500 coulombs of charge, we are going to get 1 gram equivalent of substance. Means all these Faraday's first law and second law problems, basing upon this concept itself, we can solve. So one need not use a formula every time. Just use the relation there now. That is 1 mole of electrons, or else you can say 1 Faraday of charge. Also equal to 1 Faraday. 1 Faraday of charge will liberate 1 gram equivalent of substance, that is equal to atomic mass by valency now. And when you take the value of Z here now. Z is what? If you are passing 1 coulomb of charge here, this value is Z. So when you are passing 1 coulomb of charge here, when Q is equal to 1, you are telling. then the mass which is being deposited is equal to Z there now. So for 1 coulomb of charge, 1 coulomb charge, 1 coulomb charge, we get Z grams of substance there now. Z is electrochemical equivalent now, Z grams of substance. If we pass 96,500 coulombs, we get E grams of substance there now. That way, these two can be related to each other, where Z is equal to capital E by 96,500. This formula you are going to get from that only. So this conceptually, this point is important for us now. So for every mole of electrons, you are going to get always 1 gram equivalent of a substance. For one coulomb of charge, we are going to get always Z grams of substance. Nothing but 1 Z grams means here 1 electrochemical equivalent of substance. That point is important for us, right? Hope the point is clear. Yes, Bharat? Clear, no? Right, okay. Next point now. So I think Faraday's second law is a very simple law only. When you are passing the ratio, when you are passing same charge, to different electrolytes, ratio of the weights will be in the ratio of their equivalents now. Means W1 is to W2 is to say W3 will be in the ratio of say E1 is to E2 is to E3 we have now. So ratios will be in the ratios of their equivalents now. Will be in the ratio of their equivalents we have. That's what regarding to the Faraday's second law we have. Then first law over, second law over. Then comes regarding conductances, formulas related to conductance there now. In conductance only we have Kohlrausch law coming. That formula also comes over there. So those things are there now in conductance now. So molar conductance and equivalent conductance now. Molar conductance and equivalent conductance now. Formulas related to these two now. Molar conductance means it's a conductance of 1 mole of electrolyte now. Conductance of 1 mole of electrolyte itself is called molar conductance now. Coming towards formula for molar conductance. So molar conductance, lambda molar, it is given as specific conductivity K. Actually, it is called kappa. So this is pronounced as kappa, K-A-P-P-A, kappa into 1000 by molarity you have now. Here, we are expressing in terms of CGS units there now. So molar concentration now. So if K is expressed in terms of CGS units, then we get this relation now. In SI units, you are going to get K by 1000 will come. So this will be in CGS units. Suppose you are writing say in SI units now, then formula will be K by 1000 into M will come. Remember this one now. Yeah, this will be in SI units now. Just remember that's all. Means SI units means denominator 1000 you are going to get. CGS units you are going to get numerator now. That way you can have an idea, that's all. Okay. And coming towards here, same we can write formula for equivalent conductance also we can write now. That is, when you write equivalent conductance, relation comes same. Just you replace molarity by normality now. Then you are going to get equivalent conductance then now. So equivalent conductance will be equal to K into 1000. That is kappa, okay? Kappa into 1000 by N will come now. Normality comes. In the case of equivalent conductance, again units same way only now. CGS units, 1000 comes in numerator. SI units, 1000 goes in denominator there now. When it comes to your K, kappa value, formula for K. So regarding formula for K, kappa is equal to G into L by A. L by A is called cell constant. This L by A term, this term is called cell constant now. This is cell constant. And G is called conductance. G is called conductance of the cell. And again, G can be taken as, conductance of cell can be taken as 1 by R. Means inverse of resistance now. Inverse of resistance we have. This is regarding relation of K. Kappa K we have now. So these are the formulas for molar conductance and equivalent conductance now. Then comes regarding how do these values, the molar and equivalent conductance, change on dilution. For that, upon dilution, what happens is both molar and equivalent conductance will be increasing now. This point is important for us. How do they change? What is the graph drawn? That is important for us now. That is molar conductance. So let us use symbol directly there instead of writing all these things. So lambda molar on dilution increases now. Lambda molar increases. But here the increase is not same. Increase is different in the case of different electrolytes now. We see more increase. In the case of weak electrolytes now. In the case of weak electrolytes now. And we see less increase. We see less increase in the case of strong electrolytes now. The case of strong electrolytes. Reason behind this is, see, in the case of weak electrolytes here, let us see first of all strong electrolytes. In strong electrolytes, what happens is alpha is already equal to 1. In the case of strong electrolytes now, when alpha is equal to 1, on dilution, number of ions cannot be increased now. So here, since alpha is already equal to 1, means ionization takes place completely there now. Therefore, what happens is on dilution, number of ions cannot increase. Number of ions cannot increase now. But what happens is now the inter-ionic forces can decrease. Inter-ionic forces decrease now. So number is not increasing now. Only force is decreasing now. Thereby, we can see a slight increase in the mobility. See, actually the ionic mobility conductance is basically because of number of ions only. So more the ions, we can have a more conductivity there now. Of course, also depends upon the mobility, but here it is completely ionizing there now. Even in the case of smaller concentration also, in alpha is equal to 1, it ionizes completely there now. So therefore, only the mobility is increasing here, but we can see only a lesser portion changes now. Hence, we can see only lesser increase in the conductivity. But when it comes to here, weak electrolytes, alpha is always less than 1, and on dilution, alpha increases now. When alpha increases, number of ions increase. So number of ions increase now. Therefore, we can see more increase in the conductivity we can see there now. So number of ions are increasing more, so we can see more conductivity increment upon dilution now. And one more point here, when it comes to conductivity, say specific conductivity now. Specific conductivity means kappa value now. This kappa value on dilution will decrease now. And dilution decreases now. So why it decreases on dilution? See, kappa, we are defining it as conductance per 1 cc of solution, not 1 cc per unit volume, we can say now. So conductance of unit volume of solution is called specific conductance now. So on dilution, what is happening is number of ions per unit volume start decreasing now. So when number of ions per unit volume decrease, then automatically kappa value starts decreasing there now. So remember, on dilution, kappa value decreases now. On dilution, but lambda molar increases now. So lambda molar is increasing. That is, molar conductance starts increasing on dilution, whereas specific conductivity decreases on dilution because number of ions per unit volume are decreasing. When volume is added, when we are adding more and more amount of water, automatically density of the ions per unit cc gets reduced. So kappa is getting reduced here there now. But lambda molar starts increasing there now. Lambda molar starts increasing there. That's regarding the variation of lambda molar and kappa on dilution now. Now, when you are observing the graph drawn between, the graph is important here. So when you see the graph for these two, say lambda molar and concentration root, we get this type of graphs here. So this type of graph comes for, say, weak electrolyte now. It is increasing drastically now. When it comes to strong, we get a graph like this one now. So graph comes in this way for strong, like something like KCl now. You say for acetic acid now. That implies this value is called lambda naught. Say lambda molar naught, this value. So lambda naught value can be obtained from graph only in the case of strong electrolytes. So lambda naught value means we can find out at infinite dilution what is the value of lambda can be obtained from the graph. From the graph we can obtain there now. But not in the case of weak electrolyte because it goes on increases here now. So we cannot find infinite conductance there now. Means at infinite dilution, we cannot find the conductance of that. Okay, right. Now, so we have a relation which is called d by Huckel-Onsager equation that's meant for only stronger electrolytes now. So we can find out the conductance at a given concentration now. That is meant for only strong electrolytes, not meant for weak electrolytes. Because for weak, we cannot find out lambda naught value. So it's not meant for that. So in the case of strong electrolytes here, this equation, which is a lambda given as lambda naught minus a root c, is only a constant there. It depends upon the type of electrolyte which you take there now. A constant, this one, constant, depends on type of electrolyte used. Type of electrolyte used. That implies a particular type of electrolytes are going to have only a constant value over there now. Value over there. And this expression which is called d by Huckel-Onsager equation. D by Huckel-Onsager equation. So this can be used to find out the conductance at a given concentration of a stronger electrolyte, not for weaker electrolyte there now. Because you cannot find out lambda naught for a weaker electrolyte there. Then, Now comes, how do you find out lambda naught? Lambda naught molar for weak electrolytes now. For weak electrolytes, how do you find out lambda naught? Okay. Now for this, we have a law which is called Kohlrausch law. So in that applications are there. So now coming towards Kohlrausch law, those formulas now. Kohlrausch law, application of Kohlrausch law. Actually, it says that at infinite dilution, when dissociation is complete, we can say each ion makes a definite contribution towards the molar conductance of electrolyte, irrespective of the nature of ions which are present along with that. Or one word to say, conductance of electrolyte in infinite dilution will be sum of the conductance of the ions there now. That way we can say. So better to know through applications. So lambda molar, suppose of NaCl is there at infinite dilution. I'm writing lambda naught. It says lambda naught will be equal to summation of the conductances of the both the ions. So at infinite dilution, what happens is now these ions will not interact with each other. They are completely independent of each other. Therefore, each ion makes a definite contribution towards the total value, and the contribution is not affected by the any number of ions which are there around that, because we are speaking at infinite dilution. They're very much far away from each other. They're completely independent. Only in that situation we can say that every ion has its own value. Otherwise, if they're coming close to each other means definitely one ion starts influencing the mobility of the other ion. Thereby, the total conductance is going to be affected if ions are very close. But when you said infinite dilution means definitely ions are far away from each other, far enough we can say, so that one is not influencing the other one. Suppose you take lambda molar of lambda naught, say molar of BaCl2. So we can write like this. Yes, Rohan. NaCl is not weak electrolyte. That's true. Means Kohlrausch law you can apply for weak or strong. For both we can apply Kohlrausch law. Means we can say in this way also, lambda naught of acetic acid is equal to lambda naught of acetate ion plus lambda naught of H plus ion. That also we can apply now. Same way. So Kohlrausch law can be applied for both, but D by Huckel-Ansager equation cannot be applied for both. It should be applied only for strong electrolytes, where you can find out the lambda naught value over there, not for weaker one. Right. So now when it comes to application point of view, there are 4 applications for this one now. So first application is definitely you can find out the conductance of weak electrolyte at infinite dilution. I think you know that. For that we are using the strong electrolytes conductances we are using there now. That is, for example, if you want to know lambda naught molar of weak acid, which we cannot find out directly, we depend upon the lambda naught molar of strong electrolytes there. Means we take the help of sodium acetate, acetic acid. We require acetic acid, no? So we require sodium acetate, NaCl, HCl. So these values can be found from D by Huckel-Ansager equation because all of them are strong electrolytes only. Since we require here acetic acid ion, acetic acid molecule, what we do is we are going to add this with this one and subtract NaCl from that, so that this Na, Cl gets cancelled there now. Okay. So finally we are left with here H plus here and acetate ion here now. That can be equal to acetic acid only. So in that way, from strong electrolytes conductances at their infinite dilution. We are using them to get the infinite dilution conductivity of weaker one. So from strong, you are going to find out weaker one now. How you found out means we are equated the values over there. Term A is called a constant which depends upon the type of solvent. Sorry, type of solute. Type of solute means it comes like this. A different term is that one now. NaCl is called 1:1 type of solute. CaCl is called 1:2 type of solute. AlCl3 is called 1:3 type of solute. So like that, different type of electrolytes have different constant values now. Based on those values only, we can find out the infinite dilution from the graph now. Okay. So presently, remember like this, it's only a constant which depends upon the nature of solute. Because on d by Huckel equation, there are no problems for us now. So need not worry about the numerical value of that one now. Okay, right. Next one. So one application has been done. Second one will be, we are going to find out the alpha value now. Second application alpha we can find out. That is from lambda molar by lambda not molar now. Lambda molar means the conductance at a given concentration we have to find out, divided by its infinite conduction value now. So means conductance at a given concentration by conductance at its infinite dilution. The ratio only gives rise to the value of alpha for us now. So that way we can find the value of alpha there now, conductance ratios now. Then there are two more applications are there. One is to find out the KSP of a sparingly soluble salt now. Third application now, KSP. So how to find out KSP of a sparingly soluble salt from conductance measurements now. See, sparingly soluble salt implies, so small amount of salt must be there. Small amount of salt plus large amount of water. Sparingly soluble, and you are talking about a saturated solution there now. Because KSP always use the word saturated solution there. Saturated. So you have taken sparingly soluble, means definitely small amount, large amount of water. In such a case, this conductance can be taken as lambda naught itself now. The word naught you are using because it's infinite dilution now. Because we have large amount of water, we can take it as infinite dilution itself only. That implies lambda naught molar is nothing but lambda molar for us now, which is also equal to K into 1000 by molarity. Or you can say solubility now. So you can find out lambda naught molar now. That can be taken as lambda molar only. For example, AgCl is there. How to find out lambda naught molar? They are going to give us AgNO3 conductance, HNO3 conductance, HCl conductance now. Using those three, we can find out AgCl conductance now. Then K, conductivity must be given. They may give through resistance, cell constant, all those things. Finally, you are going to get kappa value. Then you can find out the molarity of solution now. Molarity itself is solubility for us now. Molarity itself means solubility only. So once you know solubility, you can find out the KSP. Because KSP, you know, for AgCl is S square only. That's how we find out the solubility, KSP of the substances now. So point to remember in this case is lambda molar is taken as lambda not molar. Means actually we are going to find out lambda not molar only. Kappa only. This is kappa. Though we are pronouncing as K and K, it's not K, it's actually kappa. Right. Now, third application now. Fourth one. Fourth application is we can find out Kw of water. To find out Kw of water, that also we can do. Actually, Kw means we require concentration of H plus and concentration of OH minus only, because the product itself is called Kw for us now. And from Kohlrausch law, we can find out lambda naught molar of water. This you can find out. That is getting the data of lambda naught molar of H plus, lambda naught molar of OH minus, we can find out now. We can get lambda naught molar of H2O, we can find out now. And again, lambda naught molar of H2O can be written as lambda molar of H2O also. Both are same, which is equal to K into 1000 by concentration now. K into 1000 by concentration. Molarity here now. K we need to find out from conductivity cell. Can be known from conductivity cell there. Lambda molar we know from here now. So we can find out the concentration now. Once you know concentration here, a concentration square only, H plus into OH minus. Concentration square we can say now. That itself is a ionic product of water for us now. Right. Now one more point here, since it has come over here. H plus and OH minus, these 2 points now. The cation with highest conductance is H plus only. The cation having highest conductance is H plus only. And anion having higher conductance is OH minus. Among all, I mean to say now. Among all cations, we have H plus as a higher conductance now. And anions will have, okay. Right. This is only information. Cation and anion higher conductances over there. So with this, we have done Kohlrausch law. Then the next part is the construction of cell, working of cell. Those are there, not required for us. That you can learn on your own. And in the cell, no, we get 1 point there now. That is a salt bridge. Just remember 1 point in salt bridge here. So after conductance, we'll be coming to cells. Construction, working, galvanic cell, differences, all those things will come. So there 1 point to remember in salt bridge now. See, in salt bridge, frequently the question asked in salt bridge, in competitive part I mean to say. So here in salt bridge, how to select the anion and cation? Remember that mobility of anion, mobility of cation or anion you can say, should be equal to mobility of anion. These two must be same. So normally we use KCl. For this, KCl is preferred. KCl is preferred for this one now. Okay. Of course, we can also use KNO3 ammonium nitrate. So most preferred one is KCl. We can also use these two now. Then one more point remember is, suppose if at all the half cells contain say Ag plus Hg2 plus 2 Pb plus 2 like this, if we have all these things, Tl plus ions in the half cells, then what happens is here, we cannot use KCl in salt bridge because they come out as the respective precipitates now. Therefore, these cannot be used in that one now. KCl cannot be used. There's one point regarding the salt to be used there now. And we know it completes the half cells. It mainly minimizes the liquid junction potential over there. If you are removing the salt bridge, no, potential drops to 0. it becomes zero potential there now. If you are removing that salt bridge, it drops to zero. What, Rohan? What is that? Example based on salt bridge concept. See, salt bridge concept example means what they are giving is, then it becomes, see, they may ask in which of the following KCl cannot be used in salt bridge. Which are the following half cells? We cannot use KCl as a salt bridge. What we have to see is whether the electrolyte which you are using is reacting or not with those two. We have to check now. If it reacts and forms precipitates, no, that cannot be used. That's one thing we have now. And what is the main purpose of that? Whether the anion is reducing the charge on the left hand side or right hand side, means once you know the concept in that, no, I mean to say charge accumulation is prevented. They'll be asking us on which side, which charge has been prevented on accumulation now. That type of questions may be asked now in the case of salt bridge now. Because mainly salt bridge we are using to prevent the accumulation of charges on both sides now. So you have to see once you see the working part of the salt bridge there, from that you can understand now regarding the salt bridge function now. So we should know salt bridge function also to answer certain questions over there now. What I told you was only electrolytes which can be used or which cannot be used, I have told you. And it completes the circuit. If you are not using, potential drops to zero. These are the things, main points I told. Function, once you try to learn function clearly now. Then afterwards, no, afterwards we have electrode potentials. Electrode potentials, okay, electrode potentials, oxidation potential, reduction potential, standard potential, all those things that you can learn. Electrochemical series, applications of electrochemical series, those things we can learn. Okay, then after crossing all these things, after crossing the potential areas, then you are going to get Nernst equation. There are principally 5 applications are there for Nernst equations. Those 5 are very, very important in terms of competitive point of view. Those 5 formulae I will tell you once regarding Nernst equation and Nernst equation applications now. That area is important for us now. Now, Nernst equation, when it comes to Nernst equation, mainly used to find out the potential when you are changing the concentration there now. One word to say, it says that potential depends on nature means here nature of electrode used. Nature of electrode used. Concentration of electrolyte used. Concentration means here concentration of electrolyte there now. Temperature and number of electron transfer. These are the main things on which the potential depends. So straight away I'm writing the basic formula. E is equal to E naught minus 2.303 RT by NF log of products concentration by reactants concentration you have. This is a basic form for Nernst equation. RT by NF value we can substitute. RT by F value you can substitute. You are going to get it at 0.059, substituting all those values. So E will be equal to E naught minus 0.059 by N into log products by reactants we have. Okay, this is a basic form we have. Now the first 2 applications are easy that you can learn on your own. That is, first 2 applications are, first one is applying to single electrode that we can do for metal as well as non-metal. Then comes application to a cell reaction now. That also you can write the cell reaction, you can try to apply that one now. Say I'm taking one example which involves different number of electrons there now. So here we have first one, single electrode you have. Single electrode. So always remember one more point. Try to write the reaction, if it is single electrode, reaction in terms of reduction. In terms of reduction. Write the reaction this way only. For every single electrode reaction. For a cell reaction means both involved in that one. So only one we cannot have there now. So both will be there in that one. For single electrodes, you can write the cell reaction in terms of reduction. Always we can write there now. Now different types of half cells are also there. In all those cases, we need to write the reduction half cell only. There all of them are coming under single electrodes only. Like metal electrode, only gas ion type of electrodes there now. Metal insoluble salt type of electrodes there now. And then quin hydrogen electrode, calomel electrode. All these are actually coming under single electrodes only. In all these electrodes, you have to write the reaction in terms of reduction only, right? Calomel, hydrogen, quin hydrogen, metal insoluble salt, metal soluble salt, gas ion. All of them write only single electrode reactions, right, in terms of reduction only. So that is a way in the case of single electrode reaction. All are easy only this part. Now, when it comes to second part, no, reactions now. For cell reactions. For cell reaction. They may give us a cell, should write cell reaction. Suppose he got cell reaction, say like this. In some reaction he got in this way, 3 mg. I'm writing directly the reaction there, 3 mg, 2Al plus 3. So giving rise to 3 mg plus 2 plus 2Al now. Okay. I'm writing directly reaction here. Means that there is a cell in which magnesium is acting as anode, aluminum is acting as cathode. How to identify these two again? Whichever is undergoing reduction in the cell reaction, that is acting as cathode. Whichever undergoes oxidation in the cell reaction, that is acting as anode there. So that should be identified now, anode and cathode, right? Accordingly, we can write the cell reaction there. Now, when you're applying the Nernst equation for this, it should be written as E naught of cell. Now here E naught of cell means it should be E naught of cathode minus E naught of anode. So E is equal to E naught of cell minus, it is 0.059 by number of electron transfer will be 6 here now. 2 3s, or you can take here 3 2s, you can take now. Number of electron transfers, 6 electron transfer to in the reaction now. That can be balancing also. Log of concentration of the products now. See here, products are there. Now products are 2 here now. Magnesium as well as aluminum. So remember, only ions will be coming in the expression, but not the metals there now. Solids will not come. Pure liquids need not come over there in the expression there. So Mg plus 2 is there. So Mg plus 2 square will come. By it will be Al plus 3. Square you have now. Sorry, Al plus 3 is Mg plus 2 cube is coming. This 3 is there, no coefficient. 3 here. 3 it is here. 2 is here now. This is for cell reactions we have now. Right. Then comes after cell reactions and this one. Now we have say ionization constant. Ionization constant we have. Calculation of pH of a solution. Calculation of degree of hydrolysis of a salt. And then KSP. So again, these three are there. These are somewhat important again. Let us see regarding the calculation of pH of a salt or pH of a solution. How do you find out pH? Using the electrodes now. For this, so we have done three. Single electrode here, cell reaction. Sorry, only two we have done. Then we'll see the pH value, calculation of pH. So, calculation of pH, the third one. Calculation of pH. Calculation of pH means we need to find out the hydrogen ion concentration only. No? If H plus is there, then only we can find out the pH value now. So, we should write then the hydrogen electrode of having different concentration there now. So, I'm writing like this, 2H plus 2 electrons, giving rise to H2. For this, E is equal to E naught minus 0.059 by 2 into log of H2 of 1 atmosphere here. So H2 will not come here. 1 by H plus square. This goes to top, which is equal to E naught will be 0 only. Minus 0.059 by 2 into, it will be log of H plus square. So sign changes here. These two get cancelled, which is equal to 0.059 log of H plus. But we know that minus of log H plus is pH. We are having here log H plus, not minus of log H plus now. So let us put one more negative sign here now. Minus 0.059 into minus log H plus. So that value will not change now. Nothing but pH for us. So E is equal to minus 0.059 pH. So with this, you can find out the pH value. So once they are giving a standard potential, we can find out the pH value of the hydrogen electrode there now. So formula will be minus 0.059 into pH we have. Then next one now. Suppose they are asking us to find out, the page numbers are given here. Say they are asking us to say find out degree of hydrolysis of a salt now and Ka of weak acid now. These two, let us take these two first. Ka of weak acid. Let us see how to get third or fourth application is calculation of Ka. Ka calculation. Ka calculation. Ka calculation means actually what they have to give us to find out Ka calculation there now. Suppose we require calculation of something like say acetic acid. So they need to provide this data, means they have to give the cell, that is Zn, suppose Zn, say Zn plus 2, some cell is there of known concentration here now. Then H plus some acid here and H8, the weaker acid now, whose Ka we need to find out now. They gave that concentration also, and then H2. So this cell is given to us now. So now we are not going to derive everything now. This cell is given. We need to find out the Ka of this acid now. Ka of the acid we have to find out. See here, when you are writing the cell reaction, we cannot use directly Ha concentration. It is given here. We cannot use because it is a reversible with respect to H plus ion. Only H plus ion can give or take electrons there now. So in the final expression, we are going to get H plus, but not Ha there now. Means when you are applying the Nernst equation here, knowing the concentration of zinc ions and potential of H plus here now, you are going to get only the concentration of H plus there now. right? Once you know means, let me write the reaction to understand further. So zinc giving rise to Zn plus 2 plus 2 electrons, and then 2H plus 2 electrons giving rise to H2 now. So these are getting cancelled here. So zinc plus 2H plus giving rise to Zn plus 2 plus H2. This is a cell reaction we have now. In the cell reaction here, they have given us E value and say E naught of zinc value now. They are given to us now. When they are given to us, we can find out only hydrogen ion concentration there now. Once you know H plus, we can find out the concentration. That is, I'm sorry. Once you know the H plus, we can take H plus as C alpha or H plus as square root of Ka into C. Because C is given here, we found out H plus now. We can equate any of these two formulae and get the value of K. Suppose alpha is very much negligible, you can directly use the formula root of Kc. Or if not, find out the alpha. From there, get the value of K as C alpha square by 1 minus alpha can be applied. This is regarding Ka calculations now. That's one model you have in Ka calculations now. Then, similarly, we have KSP also. I think time is running. So what I'll keep it minimum. So what I will do is other applications will keep tomorrow. At least we'll solve few problems. 4 or 5 problems we'll solve minimum. Otherwise, it goes on in this way only. We cannot complete any problem then now. Let us we'll stop here and we'll solve few problems at least. Instead of going on doing this part here. So when you do know, we can understand application part. There also we can. Okay. Yeah. First one. Oh. Going on in this way. Already 318. First question, if you see, first itself is they are given as thermodynamics. They have directly mentioned the thermodynamics of the cell. Okay. The standard EMF CD plus 2.01 molar and say AgCl Ag. In which cell reaction they are given as already cell reaction there. So he says potential is so and so at 0 degrees Celsius and so at 25 degrees Celsius. We should get what is the enthalpy change of the reaction now. See, delta H they are asking us now. So we require two things now, delta G and delta S. Delta G and delta S are required now. If you know those two, we can find out delta G and delta S there now. Okay. So we have a formula for delta G. Delta G, I think all of you know, minus NFE we can write now. Delta G is minus NFE. Means we require number of electron transfer in the reaction there now. And also we require potential there now. Okay. So at 25 degrees Celsius, we are going to use the potential of entire cell there now. That value E can be used. E of cell can be used now. Then when it comes to delta S formula is equal to NFE B of minus NFE by dt. Or shall I write the formula once clearly? Because I'll write once temperature coefficient of cell, because it is basing upon temperature coefficient of cell. Basing on those three only it can come. right? I'll write the formula once. See, formula is like this. For temperature coefficient, no, dE, dt is called temperature coefficient, which is equal to E2 minus E1 by T2 minus T1. Temperature coefficient of cell. Delta S actually depends upon temperature coefficient only. So delta S is equal to, it is NF into temperature coefficient of cell. That is dE of cell, temperature coefficient of cell, by dt. This part is called temperature coefficient now. So in this way we can find out delta S, we can find out now. Delta G minus NFE we can apply. So knowing these two, we can go for delta H now. Because delta G is equal to delta H minus T delta S. So we have to find out the values now, one by one. Substitute the values. You can simplify it. So these three formulas must be applied there now. And here, when applying the formula, the potential which is given to you, apply potential at 25 degrees only. Where they are asking us at 25 degrees Celsius there now. But there are two E values are there. Which value should be applied? Then, since you are calculating delta H at 25 degrees Celsius, for delta G, take E at 25 degrees Celsius only and then do. Okay. Then we'll go to next question then now. So it's only substitution of these three relations now. Because E1 is there, E2 is there, T1 is there, T2 is there. So temperature coefficient you can find out. Value of N is there. 2 electron transfer is taking place here now. So N is 2, means 2 electron transfer is taking place there. These values are there here now. So these values are there, means delta S is there. Delta G, again E is there, means delta G is there. So delta H is also there. Okay, the next one. For the reaction, to, okay, they gave the reaction. They're asking us, Kc has been found to be. Kc is given, means equilibrium constant is given to us now. We need to find out E naught of cell now. E naught. How much? See, for a cell, no, E will be equal to 0 if it is at equilibrium state, but E naught value will exist. So we know that, yeah, E naught is equal to 0.059 by N into log C, log of Kc. This formula can be applied there. Next one. Oh, this is again KSP only. Standard electrode potential of metal Mg, Ag plus and metal insoluble are related as, so connected to KSP concept now. So here, let us say, anyhow, I thought of telling KSP, which is there anyhow here. See, now we require, see, observe the question, this and this are there for us. Now we'll make up a cell of those two only. Let us take a cell of those two. We can easily understand now relation between those two. In this cell, so in first cell, I am taking, say, Ag plus Ag now. Means electrode is Ag here. Ag plus ions are there now. Second cell, let us take metal insoluble salt type, like this now. These two are connected now. Let us take construction of this cell now. When you are writing cell reaction for this, cell reaction now. This part is anode. This part is cathode. So anode, that is silver, giving rise to Ag plus. plus electron undergoing oxidation now. Now cathode is what? Metal insoluble salt type now. So AgCl is there. So AgCl takes electrons now. It forms Ag plus Cl minus. In AgCl, we have Ag plus Cl minus. Now, in that, Ag plus takes electrons now. So here, we can cancel Ag and Ag here. We are left with AgCl giving rise to Ag plus Cl minus now. Actually, what is this expression actually? Is nothing but equilibrium constant for KSP only. Because for this equilibrium constant is equivalent to concentration of Ag plus into concentration of Cl minus by concentration of AgCl only, solid substance only. Is nothing but equal to KSP only. Means this cell reaction itself stands for KSP of that one now. Now when you're applying Nernst equation, E is equal to E naught of cell minus 0.059 by N is 1 only here into log of concentration of products now. What are products here? Ag plus into Cl minus now. Ag plus into Cl minus we have in the reaction. By what? AgCl only. By 1 will come. So this part can be taken as KSP itself there now. KSP itself. Then comes what is the E of cell? E of cell should be given to us. Or just keep it as E of cell means certain value for us. Then comes what is E naught of cell? E naught of cell means E naught of metal insoluble salt type minus that of this one for us now. And here, when you say it is equilibrium constant, definitely E value should be 0. Otherwise, it's not equilibrium then now. So let us equate E0 now. When you equate E0, E is coming outside now. You can take E outside now. Then this E is coming here. Minus E naught of cell is equal to minus 0.059 log of KSP. Log KSP now. Now expand this one now. We'll change sign throughout. Expand this E naught of cell. What is E naught of cell? E naught of cathode. That is metal insoluble salt minus E naught of anode. That is Ag plus Ag, which is equal to 0.059 log KSP. So now you can understand which is option correct now. You can check now. That is, it won't will not apply. So what is the answer then? We have to check for next one also. So it is coming out as option B. Go back once. Yeah. Option B. If you see, coming out as B only. This value is B for us now. That way we can get relation between those two. This actually can be used as a formula also to find out KSP. So we require metal insoluble salt type of E naught value. From there you can find.